aka Mad Dog. Yeah, y'all know. Just looking out of the window, watching the asphalt grow. Good times. Yeah. So y'all want me to get into them Cabrini-Green stories, I guess, now, right? Don't worry, I got you. I got you. Today we talking about Cleon Atwood, aka Mad Dog. Y'all know him from that infamous episode on Good Times, and we will be getting there, of course. But you know, I gotta start from the beginning. It's Random Rants, man. Like and subscribe, man. Y'all already know what time it is, man. And of course, y'all know Cleon born and raised in Chicago, Chi-Town, Chicago, Illinois. You know, he was actually, his father's from over in Robert Taylor Homes, but you know he never knew his father. His father left when he was born. This led his mother and a young Cleon at the time, only 6 months old, they go move over Cabrini-Green. He a Cabrini baby. So he raised around Cabrini. And y'all know it's rough around there. You know, this the 60s. You know, they try and make ends meet. It's tough. And the gang violence and the gangs is heavy out there. Y'all know that? And Cleon look up to that, though. He looks up to it. Eventually, he jumps off the porch, selling envelopes of grass, little joints, in grammar school. He getting suspended. He getting, fighting. He get to fighting. He just a troubled kid. He don't have a father. This is Cleon. He eventually grows to become Mad Dog. And y'all know what he do then. It's Cleon that we talking about. Troubled youth. Eventually he goes to Cooley High School. I know you guys familiar with that, right? From the movie, right? Everybody knows it's a district over the Cabrini kids, they go to Cooley. And that's where he officially becomes a member of the Satan Knights. Hold on, y'all did watch the show, right? Y'all remember the Satan Knights, right? Come on now. One of the toughest gangs coming out of Cabrini in the 70s. They rivaled the Warlords, and the Warlords was going harder than them. It was a tough time, a tough era back then. You had to be there. You know? Now, the summer after JJ's freshman year of high school, that's when Cleon really earns his reputation in Cabrini after poking up a few warlords and a rib joint right nearby, right around their way and whatnot. He poked a couple of them up, and the Satan Knights officially crowned him the senior war council of their chapter. And this gave Mad Dog all of the quote-unquote clout per se. You know, and he's running the gang now. He's in charge of it. Because he's the man when it comes to those 16, 17-year-olds. He's already poked up somebody. A lot of them haven't put in any work. So he's doing his thing, right? Now, this leads to JJ's senior year now, right? Because Mad Dog's been putting in his work. And this leads to the actual episode. Now, I know you guys remember the episode of Good Times. I believe it was season 2, episode around 11, 12, 10, 11, or 12, I believe. When JJ, get hit with the wham wham. Y'all remember that? The episode starts off with Sylvester and Terrence, JJ's quote-unquote friends, and we know their actual names because Florida hops off the elevator and say, "Oh, hi, Sylvester and Terrence. How you guys doing today?" And they're just giving Florida the, oh, we're nice little kids act and whatnot, right? Florida hops up in the house. They like, yeah, JJ. Sylvester turns right back to Neckbone, because that's his Satanite name, Neckbone. It's like, yeah, JJ, you already know what time it is. We got to fight with the warlords tonight, and we coming by to pick you up. And Mad Dog gonna be here. And nobody say no to Mad Dog. You've already missed the last 3 fights, man. See, what we don't know, but what we end up finding out on this particular episode is JJ was actually a Satanite for 3 months prior to this episode. Why? Because JJ isn't a follower, actually. They actually recruited him. Mad Dog and Neckbone recruited him. See, the Satanites were into it, of course. It's always a war, right? Of course, their ops is the warlords. They had just got into a big fight 3 months prior, right? Where 15 members of the Satanites were stretched out and 2 transitioned. They mentioned that in this particular show. So they needed more members. Of course, they in Cooley High. They see JJ. He walking around cool and getting the chicks. Because JJ always was a ladies' man. Always getting them. They was like, yeah, we can go ahead and get him. Boom. They recruited him. They picked him. He didn't have a choice. So, boom. Let's continue on with the episode. So, the kids convince Florida and James, their parents, of course, to go see a movie. They haven't really had a lot of time out. Like, y'all should go see that new movie, Claudine, starring Diane Carroll and James Earl Jones, about welfare. Classic movie. They plugged it. And Gladys Knight was on that soundtrack too. If you guys never saw it, please check that movie out. Legendary movie. But nonetheless though, that's why the parents wasn't in the house for this next scene that we're about to talk about. And that's when the knock on the door come. Boom, boom, boom. You see Sylvester. You see Terrence. And then you see the infamous Mad Dog pop up on that screen. It's the first time that we're introduced to him, even though I already knew his backstory, clearly, right? But it's the first time you guys are introduced to him, And Mad Dog comes in there, and we don't want to confuse Mad Dog with Mad Dog No Good from Martin, that beat up Tommy. We will be touching on him. This is, like I said, this is Mad Dog, Satanite's Mad Dog. And he comes in there talking that good, sweet jive talk that you guys love from the 70s. Hey, mama, what's your name? Oh, my name's Thelma. Thelma? What type of name is Thelma? Well, my mama saw me and named me Thelma. Your mama saw you and named you Mad Dog. Oh, the crowd cheered for that. You know that. Oh, but what they didn't know was Mad Dog had that deuce on him. That's what they didn't know. He had the deuce on him. They waiting for JJ. They like, where JJ at? We try and get this party started. We gotta go holler at the warlords. JJ hop out the back, acting like he got a flu. Man, Mad Dog sent Sylvester and Terrence over there to go check that thermometer. They found out that was a lie. Man, Mad Dog up that 22 so quick in that Evans household, that Lord protected Evans household, up that bad boy, was like, oh no, you about to get ready. Mike wasn't even scared. Mike like 8. That's like the 17th time he's seen a gun. That wasn't traumatizing to him. Thelma wasn't scared. JJ hopped out that junk with that red flag on. He ready. He ready now. He ready for the warlords. He ready. And this leads to the next scene, right? When they're actually walking to go see the warlords. And just so happens, the movie lets out a little early. And this is how you know the Evans household is protected. God-fearing household. Florida and James just so happens to bump into JJ, Sylvester, Terrence, and Cleon as they're walking to go meet the warlords and sneak up on them, because they have this wonderful plan to sneak up on them, even though they're already outnumbered. And James, being the great father that he is, great pivotal character in Good Times, he was like, look, man, My son ain't going nowhere. I see he dressed up like he a gang member. What's going on? They find out like, yeah, JJ like, I gotta go do what I gotta do. They like, nah, you're not going nowhere. Cleon pull that 22 out, pow pow. Man, JJ's jumped in front of that. Like, man, JJ, a real dude, Slim. A real dude. Jumped in front of that. Saved his father's life. Yeah. Took one to the gut. Yep. That's JJ for you, though. Yep. And that was the end of that episode. Because this was a 2-part. Yeah, this was a 2-part episode. They go back to the next episode. JJ coming out the hospital. They said it was a flesh wound, right? Because after that, the gang members stepped off. They stepped off. They hopped up out of there. So they said JJ got hit with the flesh wound, right? JJ has the quickest recovery in TV history. 2 minutes into the scene, JJ happy to have his pajamas. At the time, JJ messing around with Henrietta. He about to get her pregnant in a couple episodes. Y'all not hip to the show. I actually watched this. I actually know what I'm talking about. I'm not making this up. He healed. He about to go hit Henrietta. What you saying? I know these people. I'm really, man, come on, man. It's Cabrini-Green. But yeah, man. JJ healing, man. James Evans, the father, was like, I'm going to go to the court hearing because apparently Mad Dog Cleon was caught and he was charged. Assault with a deadly weapon. Assault with the DW, I should say. Because I know, I don't... Of course, the goal is to be monetized, right? But I gotta keep it real for y'all, though, right? I gotta keep it real for y'all. This man, Cleon, he's like, forget my lawyer. I'm pleading guilty without a lawyer. I did it. James is like, dang, he has his little pretzels. He's breaking them every 2 seconds in the scene. Like, these are Cleon's fingers. These are Mad Dog's fingers. Snapping them bad boys. Snap, snap, snap. They kicked him out the courtroom. They was like, look, he pled guilty. We don't really need you here. We don't need no witnesses. We about to sentence him. The judge was like, yeah, we about to give you juvenile life, buddy. Yeah, you about to go up to, your little Chicago baby books. Y'all about to go over there. And they was like, yeah, it's filled up. They was like, all right, we'll send him to the adult zone. That's filled up too. They was like, dang. So they gave this man probation until he was 21. Juvenile probation until he was already on probation. They just gave him juvenile probation until he was 21, which is typical in the juvenile sector, and that's neither here nor there. We're not even going to comment on that. But he basically walked, man. And in that next scene, you get to see his mother. His mother popped up late, man. See, we knew, I knew, but what you guys didn't know was that Cleon had a couple younger siblings and whatnot. His mother met a man in Cabrini, she had a job at night. She coming back, she trying to feed them, get them off to school, and try to show up at a decent time to see Cleon get sentenced at least. And at the end of that scene, she just snapped on her son, was like, man, for the last couple years, man, you've been a burden, man. You've been a burden. Like, it's ridiculous, man. Like, I wish you was never born, Like, I can see why your father left. Like, she took some accountability in that scene. And then, of course, he gets to crying. What you mean, mama? What you mean? He ain't never like us. Like, yeah, so because he ain't have a father, you almost killed my son. You almost made my son transition. Now James has a heart. Like, man, come on, James. You supposed to be from that. James was supposed to pull a New Jack City move like my man did on Nino. But it's all good, though, Mom. He didn't. And everybody lives to see another day because it's good times, And Cleon, he did his time. He actually did 20 years in adult after a bank robbery in 1979. Bank robbery. He did 20 years, came out in 1999, as you can see from that picture right there. Wrote a few books, since they since tore down Cabrini-Green. He's an activist now in Chicago. Has a nice wife, nice family. He's doing wonderful, you know. But this is Random Rants. You guys like and subscribe. You already know what time it is with me, man. Y'all know what it is.